Hi, we've got some great, interesting things to talk about today, things that I feel like I can finally talk about now that we are in the final phase of FM20. But hold on, there's one more thing we have to get to first. Recently, I love getting down in the comments. I love mixing it up, right? There have been a few people that they're like, hey, this is kind of ridiculous. Your videos, they don't really start until like 2.5 minutes in. So I will be bobbing my head to music for the next 2.5 minutes, just to make sure we keep up appearances. Pretty sure my head's about to fall off. It's time to start. So today, I feel like I need to take my headphones off, and today we have finally reached a point in Football Manager 20 where I feel like I can make a video like this talking about my favorite tactic for the entire year. Just what I used more than anything else with Chelsea, with Bate, with Dortmund, and with Genetos, which we've recently had a ton of success with in Colombia. If you want to watch me see if I can pull off the impossible, it's not really impossible, but pull off a fun save in Colombia, the Twitch link is in the description. I am winded. Anyways, what we are looking at today is a tactic that you probably are familiar with. It's something I call a 4-3-3, a 4-3-3 wide, if you will, because I know typically when you say 4-3-3, you're thinking of 3 strikers. I call this a 4-3-3, and in Football Manager 20, this has been the tactic that has brought me more balance and comfort and fluidity with all different teams than any other tactic I have found. So I'm not hiding it from you, and we're going to go through all the different roles and destructions, well, in the right hands. Now, we're going to go through all the different roles and instructions and how I use them to try and get different results out of my team, out of this same formation. But this is the shape. This is the formation of players that it's been the best all year. And when you watch the streamer showdown, pay attention to what formation everybody is using, because it's freaking this, right? If you don't know what streamer showdown is, I really recommend hitting the Twitch link. It's a lot of fun. And we've also won it before, so unlike some people, but everybody's using this tactic, and that led me to believe and finally realize, like, look, this isn't just you. Everybody has drifted towards this wide 4-3-3 throughout the course of the game's cycle. Do we know if it's going to translate to FM21? Not necessarily, because you're always capable of a huge wholesale match engine change. And apparently there's like a mod for the match engine. I'm going to have to try that out for a future video. We'll check that out later. But this is it right here. There are a couple of key things, though, that you have to do within this tactic or else it will not work for you. And I think first, off the top, the single most important thing to do in this tactic is you need to be able to apply a fourth attacking player. What do I mean by that? You can either provide a fourth attacking player from the fullback positions. If you have an incredible, doesn't have to be a world-class fullback, but one of your best players is a forward-thinking fullback, plays a complete wingback perhaps, you can put them on attack, they can become your fourth or fifth attacking option out of this formation. Even if you're trying to dominate somebody, you want to go maybe to 6 players that are really trying to attack and get themselves in the box. But typically the way I'll attempt to do this out of this formation, and what I've done essentially all year and has led us to great success, we have the smallest wage budget in all of Colombia, and it is coming right down to the wire to whether we win the league. You need an attacking midfielder. And for me, I've done this in a lot of different ways. You can do it as a Metsala on attack. A Metsala on attack can get all the way into the box. A Metsala on attack, though, is going to disrupt inward cutting players. Now, I've heard reported success. I've not experienced it myself using a Metsala on the same side as an inside forward. That is not something I would recommend. Depending on the specific players and their player traits, like with most things in Football Manager, it is possible to make it work very well. Generally, they're going to try and get into the same space because a Metsala is essentially what Kevin De Bruyne does, where you're getting into a channel, kind of running on the edge of the 18, and you've got some freedom to roam from your position. You see that in the instructions here. They get incredibly far forward. There's a reason that I used to have a sound effect on the Twitch channel where we talked about how Metsala is actually the greatest position in the game. Roll. I should be saying it right. It's you that should be messing it up. Another option in order to get forward is the central midfielder on attack. Now, this is very attractive for me because if I get a player that I know is talented, if I get a player that I know I trust, the central midfielder on attack is going to be in that position, but just look to get further forward. It's very simple. There's not nearly the level of sophistication required to operate a Metsala. Now that there's like this threshold of sophistication in Football Manager that should make you afraid of a Metsala, but the Metsala is looking to do a bit more particular thing than a central midfielder on attack is just a center mid that looks to get further forward. That's the instruction they have. And you can go in to their specific player screen if you want to tell them to do a couple more things. If you want them to dribble more, or maybe they're a fantastic shooter, you want them to shoot more. Honestly, you can probably add all of those things to a Metsala. It's great. To me, the difference between having someone here and the difference between having someone there is the difference between having a fullback on attack and a wingback on attack. A fullback on attack just starts from a deeper position and is not as rambunctious, but they will achieve the same end goal in that they are going to get further forward. So the number one key is you've got to get a fourth person in attack. Obviously, when I'm saying you have to get a fourth person into attack, the 3 up front are into the attack. Now you can play one or both of the wings on support if you are struggling to defend the wing. This is something you should not be afraid of doing. I do it just to cover my own on the right back position because we're not exactly brilliant defensively there, even when we have Jose Gomez who can tackle he can tackle the dickens out of the ball. He's 5'4", 125 pounds. A strong breeze or a fully grown 13-year-old could probably move him from his spot. So we need to cover him a little bit. And when you put an advanced wing on support, they provide cover in that position a lot better than somebody that's on attack in the exact same position. Obviously, I'm using 2 wingers here. If you were using 2 wingers, I would recommend not going too wide. Why, Zealand? Well, this is really my next topic on this formation, is that if you have 2 wingers and you're playing extremely wide and you are relying on just one, you can get both of these guys, go double Metsala, double center midfield on attack, whatever fits your fancy, and you don't have both those guys coming forward. You got 2 wingers, you got fullbacks on wingback support. Who's in the box? Who is in the box? At the start, one dude, immediately, and for the foreseeable future until somebody finally lugs their carcass up into the box from the midfield, there is one guy. I can guarantee you there will always be more than one guy on the other team defending in the box. That means this guy is either very good or he's isolated and he's not going to be as effective. And when you get a little more narrow, these wingers tend to help out in the box a little more, especially if you've got fullbacks that are coming over the side. That little bit more narrow, these wingers help get into the box. And one of the most dangerous things out of this formation is not the cross from someone like Vidal to Aristasabal. It's the cross from Candelo to Vidal, or the cross from Vidal to Candelo. That late blooming run in towards the back post, those guys just sweep it up, and that deep cross, Aristasabal draws the whole defense and the other guy comes in. I mean, Vidal and Candelo have close to the same number of goals as Aristasabal this year. I mean, by 1 or 2 for the whole season. And that's something that you see a lot in this formation, because it is difficult to be a striker in this formation, which means we should probably talk about striker roles for my favorite formation. I have fallen back in love with the advanced forward. I have. The advanced forward, this happened with Dortmund. Erling Haaland, I played him as a complete forward for a year on Dortmund. He was meh, and we all know he's a lot better than meh. Switched him to advanced forward and he was highly influential. I used to say, if you can play somebody as a complete forward, even kind of play him as a complete forward, let them do whatever they want. No, Erling Haaland is not great at everything. Very few players are at least balanced enough and great at everything to play as a complete forward. So when you come up to someone like Aristasabal, get further forward and moves into channels, uses off the ball movement, keeps them forward pushing the line. They're not averse to getting on the ball like a poacher. A poacher, essentially the difference is that they just don't want the ball unless they're about to score, because they're not dribbling. There's none of that on advanced forward. You can get the ball and dribble with it. You're just leading the line. The complete forward gets caught up, and look at this. Look at this. An advanced forward, do you see what's highlighted? Somebody that gets up the field, gets themselves on the ball if they have to. Passing is still an important part. And now look at complete forward. You add in a couple of other components that most forwards aren't very good at. Long shots, teamwork, decisions. Ew. The ability to play and hold the ball up and operate as a target man is really encompassed in being a complete forward, and a little extra facilitation. I don't want Erling Haaland or Aristasabal to get caught up in that mess. I want them to be leading the line and give everybody else the job of bringing the ball up there. Let's talk about the rest of the midfield. Wait. Let's not do that, because I can already see the questions. I was settling the debate between advanced forward and complete forward. There's nothing wrong with a poacher in this role. I do think there is something wrong with any deeper lying role than like a pressing forward. Pressing forward can work here, can initiate the break, can take the ball from the other team, which we all know happens too much in Football Manager, or does it? A deeper lying role here is very difficult. The only instance that I have been, when I'm talking to people, have seen it work, I've not used it personally, is dual wielding attacking inside forwards. That is the most aggressive wing role you can get. If you've got 2 of those, you can play off and essentially have basically a wide 4-3-3 with those 2 inside forwards being the main goal scoring threats, and your striker acting as an attacking midfielder, essentially sitting underneath them. That movement would be maddening for a back line, and it should work. But if you have 2 wingers on support and you're playing a false 9 up top, I have the answer to the question, why am I not scoring enough goals? Who in God's green earth is supposed to be scoring the goals, man? We're learning. The rest of the midfield, you can swing your entire formation based off of this. We're playing a team that's much better than me. Box to box is the most reserved, roams from position, can kind of get forward sort of role. This position, the other midfielder, and it can be on either side. It depends on what type of wings you have. You don't want somebody running into an inside forward, so you put them on the other side. That's fine. There's no specific institution there. This midfield role determines a lot. I've got center midfield on support. Absolutely no instructions, no specific player instructions. I just want the guy on the field in that position doing what he thinks is right, but not getting caught too far forward so that I don't end up isolated with my one defensive midfielder, who I will typically play in a role, either anchorman, deep lying playmaker, even halfback, somebody that is going to stay back. This is the core of the defense. These guys, they can become the core of a defense if you're playing a better team. The fluidity of this tactic, if you put these guys on support and these guys on defend on the outside, this can be a pretty batten down the hatches tactic. And when you're trying to see out a game, you can typically drag and drop both of these homies. You can drag and drop both of them back there. I do that all the time to see out the last 15-20 minutes of a game. It just gets them in better defensive position. You can even drag them back and put them on attack so that they still get forward into the right spots, but they will retreat even deeper than they did before. Now let's talk about mentalities. I made a video about mentalities, how they affected everything. It was very insightful for me. I learned a lot making that video. So I typically start on balance. You see how the game is going. If you're worried about counterattacks, you go positive. If you're not really, you go attacking. If you're getting beat, you go cautious, and that changes the individual player mentality of each player. If you want to go into it more, watch that video. I'm okay with a standard attacking width, even though I have the 2 wings. They still seem to involve themselves. Watch the highlights. If they don't involve themselves at all over a long period of time, go narrow, change their role, do something. And I have settled on a higher tempo and shorter passing. This is just what fits this particular team. And I think once you get into the instructions, that you should select what fits your particular team. The one thing I would caution you against, and I see a lot of people do this, you don't have to have an instruction everywhere to be successful. I have a team that has the smallest budget in the league. We are on the top of the table. These are the instructions that I have. It doesn't mean it's better or worse. Just do not feel pressured to go, all right, boss. You know, you don't need that. You don't. But if you see an opportunity with a good dribbling team overall, run at the defense. If you're very good on set pieces, and play for set pieces. If you're looking to cross the ball early because you've got an incredible aerial forward, hit early crosses. In transition, always tick all of these 3. I think one of the keys to this formation is the ability to transition the ball going forward, and you really can't do that unless you're ticking all of this. I will go down to regroup and slow down pace in order to see out games. Distribution determines how you want to play. I like to go to fullbacks. It's a very safe possession strategy. If you've got fullbacks that are at least decent on the ball compared to your league, then it should work fine. If you have center backs that are decent on the ball compared to your league, that is preferable above all else. I don't have that. So distribute to fullbacks is fine. If you don't have 2 good fullbacks, you can click this drop down, distribute to a position, and just pick a particular dude. Click on him. But remember, when you rotate him out, you're still going to be dinking it over to that backup every time you're distributing. So watch out for that. There is nothing wrong with trying to send the ball long to the flanks. If you have a deep lying playmaker like I do, distribute to playmakers. Going to give him the ball. Pick your strength here. Do you want to possess? Do you want to get the ball long and up the field and then press? What do you want to do? It's all you. And I don't want to feel like I'm saying that too much, but it is so dependent on the way you want to play out of this formation. The reason I love it so much is that you can play really defensive and counter with long balls, or you can possess. I mean, we possess the ball. We possess the Holy Spirit out of the ball in Colombia. It's beautiful. We have over 60% possession every game, just keeping the ball short. And then the real key, this is where I'm not going to fluctuate, is you got to play with a high line. There is very little reason not to play with a high line. If you have center backs that are wildly unathletic, use an offside trap. If it's the last 10 minutes of the game, I start to bring the line back because they obviously are a little more likely to go long with the ball the later in the game it goes, and that would leave me more exposed. Shortening the field against your opponent with this formation or any formation is just a key to success in FM20. Shorten the field. Play in their half of the field. And if they want to play in your half of the field, then don't have a lot of it to work with because you're way up in their business. And if you do play with this high line, make sure you're closing and pressing urgently, because if you give them time to collect the ball and then pick out a pass over the top, in most leagues, you will be screwed. You can prevent short goalkeeper distribution or not if you want to. If your center backs are athletic and short, you probably don't want to have to deal with winning headers. Mine aren't. They're tall and kind of slow. So I don't prevent short goalkeeper distribution. They get the ball out short, and then we press. And the final piece de resistance is the goalkeeper. Dealer's choice. Whatever the heck you want. But there's only a month left in the Football Manager 20 cycle, and I figured it was time to sit down and talk about my favorite formation. I've used it with every single team that I've played with. It hasn't been my main go-to formation with every single team I've played with, but I have used this formation with all 4 teams that I have played with in FM20, particularly Generos at the end, which is a great sign for how this will play out in the match engine in FM20. It works. And if you want to go all attacking and double attacking here and attacking here, it's an absolute bombard. And if you want to go defend and you want to go supports and you want to go deep lying playmaker here and halfback here and box to box here, all of a sudden you're playing some hardcore defense. It's just the perfect middle ground, and I hope it helps you.